Okay, so we should now be live with this here, and what I'm going to do is share my screen, and let's see if we can get things moving along here. So, welcome everyone to this first session, first seminar for the first session of the seminar for Odoo ERP, the enterprise suite. And what I'm doing is going to share a screen, and let's go here, and I want to open up the demo. So we're going to do a demo of what Odoo can do. We're going to specifically deal with the manufacturing capabilities. So let me go ahead and share this window, share. Okay, so we have this demo, and the intent will be to try to keep as close as I can to the manufacturing module of what Odoo offers, of what it actually provides to the manufacturer. I mean, the whole idea of Odoo was that it was designed back in the mid 2000s for, it was called Tiny ERP originally, and then it morphed into the name Odoo. And what it does is it obviously behaves for your it acts as a enterprise level platform. That's what the ERP stands for. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's not really planning. It's not just resources. There's a lot more involved here, and obviously we're going to dive into a lot of the different aspects that the software provides. But for the most part, this is the main thrust, if you want to call it that, for Odoo and pretty much any ERP system, is to be able to manage your from a manufacturing perspective, a distribution perspective, a retail perspective. Basically, it just handles your the different aspects of a business in a succinct fashion, hopefully in a concise fashion, in a that allows there some communication to go on. So a lot of the other ERP systems out there can do a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today. I mean, I'm not saying that this is a unique system per se, other than just saying that the capabilities that it has to be able to talk to each other is definitely much. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's dive into the manufacturing. So we have our manufacturing module here. Every one of these are called an app, and each one of these apps is within the system. So there's nothing that's being appended to the system. The system is autonomous and can work from the cloud or from an on-prem perspective. So again, just throwing this out there so that we understand that this is not something that is you're locked into, maybe a subscription, or something like that. You can go on-prem. There's going to be different ways that can be managed, but I'm not going to dive into that right now. So let's look at our manufacturing module. So we'll open this up, and as we can see, we have a few. Again, since this is a demo database, the information is pretty much canned. There's not a whole lot of selection, and the configuration is pretty much vanilla flavored, so it doesn't give you a whole lot of access to what can be done. But at least this will give you a flavor of some of the things that could be done, and that's really what I want to leave at this at. Okay, so obviously from a manufacturing perspective, there's a lot of things that go on the outside. For example, you have your sales, you have your planning, you have your purchasing. There's so many other things that could be discussed, but we're going to try to concentrate specifically on how manufacturing handles things like a manufacturing order or things like that. So we have what we're call these work orders, and we have a manufacturing order. So we go to operations, we can see we have a manufacturing order, a work order, these unbilled orders, and scrap. So we're going to talk about each one of these, try to keep it really, really specific to this, so I don't go off on tangents and talk about other stuff. But let's talk about this. So basically what we're looking at is we have to somehow identify and set up the system so that we're able to understand what we want it to do. Now, obviously, an ERP system is not specific to a particular customer. It's not specific to a particular industry, and is not specific to a particular way of doing things. And it does not necessarily dictate what are considered best practices. I'll use my air quotes here, best practices, because best practices for one customer or for one industry may not necessarily apply for another industry or another customer. So what we want to do is we want to be able to understand how these work together and what the intent is, or the main idea behind the different ways we do stuff. So let's just open up a manufacturing order. So we're going to assume that we have a few here that obviously we're going to work with. And we're going to assume that you can relate this. I mean, this is for the most part a furniture warehouse or furniture manufacturer, where they're basically building different pieces of furniture. You can see, obviously, we have a desk, we have a table, we have a drawer, and the full table complete. So again, we'll talk about each one of these. So we can see that we have this one, which is in blue. And what we're saying here is that this one is actually available, other than it says not available because we're missing table legs. So this is what it's really trying to tell us right now, is that we cannot continue forward on this particular work or manufacturing order, because this manufacturing order does not have certain parts. So let's see if we can talk about this a bit more. So go back up here to manufacturing orders, and we can see that, let's look at this one from yesterday, this tabletop. So we select the tabletop, and we see that we need the wood panel, and the wood panel is available. It's in stock. So we are able to complete this. So we need 2 wood panels, obviously, because we need to consume 2 to make this tabletop, whatever this is. Okay. So now if we notice here, as these are the components on this manufacturing order, we can also have a work order, which is the actual work that's going to be done to complete or fulfill this manufacturing order. So obviously there's some things we need to do. So we can have a work center, we have an operation, and we have a work center, and we have obviously a product. So we have a location, and we have an operation that needs to be done. So this operation will say what is necessary to fulfill this particular work order on this manufacturing order. So the WO fulfills the MO, and there could be many work orders that fulfill the manufacturing order. But each one of these could be set down or spelled out into a particular operation, and that operation then could fulfill, because we can have multiple operations here. Obviously, we could add another one if we wanted to, and we could go ahead and say what exactly we want this work order to do, or this particular operation, and then we could set it up that way. So I'm not going to do that right now, but we could understand that that is the case. Now, because of the fact that we have we have some, obviously we go to miscellaneous, and we can say, okay, what's the information around this? We can see that it could be a deadline. You have to get it done by this time because we need to get this thing out the door. This could be a whip order, meaning basically this could be a manufacturing order that could be used in something later on. It could be a work order that could be used as something later on as well. So again, these are all broken up into different steps necessary to have product be sent out the door. That's really what we're trying to do. Okay, so let's go back to our, so we have our work orders, and we can see that we have the quantity of one. So we need 1 tabletop comprised of 2 specific pieces that are going to go into this tabletop. So what we get out of that is 1 unit, and we're going to expect to take 1 hour to complete this entire process. Now, when if we're at the workbench, and we've got our two panels, then what we will do is we will go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to start my work now. So I click the start button, and what that does is it says I'm going to start this process. Whatever process this is, I'm starting it now. The system is allowing me to do this. Why? Because I have enough of the panels to complete the 1 unit that I need. So let's go back to, if we go back to our components here, and we see that it does say available. if we wanted to see how many of these wood panels we actually do have, you see I'm clicking on the wood panel itself, and it takes us into the product for that specific wood panel. Obviously, we can see now that we have this, and we can see that there's some tracking. We have 50 panels on hand, so obviously we have plenty. There's no lack of panels, so which is great. Now, I'm not going to get into, obviously, that's the problem. They're all interconnected, so I don't want to get into the discussion of the actual product itself, but I just want to say this is the reason why the system is letting me proceed. So let's go back to our manufacturer order. We see that we've been continuing on this. We go on the work order. Time's running. I got to get moving. So I need to get those panels. I have to do whatever I need to do, and I need to be able to get these things all assembled for whatever reason to ready for the next step, which is probably what it's going to be. Again, assuming that this is a WIP product, because I don't accept, typically people don't sell wood or tabletops by themselves. Usually put legs on them and sell them as a table, so to speak. But again, that's what this is all about. So I have an hour to get this thing done, and time is ticking. I better get moving. All right. So now, if we want to discuss, is this product going to be a lot, or if it's going to be serialized? Now, again, if for those that don't understand the concept between a lot and a serial, so when we have let's say there are two ways of looking at a batch. And this batch could be, let's say I have to create not just one, but I have to create 15, or I have to create 30, or I have to create 150, or 2,000, 2 million. I don't know. All I can say is I need to create a certain number, a certain quantity of these to fulfill the order that I've been given. At this point, we have one. Fine. Now, if this were, let's say, 10, let's pretend this was 10. So if we notice here, I could go to here and then change my quantity. I'm going to change my quantity to 10, just because I want to take a look and see now that the quantity is still 1, but now I say I'm going to create 10. And as you can see, it's now 10. But of course, does that change anything? No, it doesn't, because I have 50 wood panels in stock. So it still says I'm good. Let's just for grins and giggles, let's go ahead and change this to 100. And let's see what happens. Set the quantity, and still says it's okay because I've already started, but the component status now says not available. So even though I can continue to work, it says, wait a second, you now want 100 of these things. I only have 50 of these wood panels in stock. You can only make 25. So you're not going to be able to do the full quantity of 100. So it says not available. So there are some things we have to do to obviously purchase more panels, get them in stock. Obviously, we need to get that. So again, I'm not going to get down that because that deals more with the planning side of things and purchasing. So we won't discuss that necessarily in this video. Okay, but so let's go back and let's just change this back. Let's just put this at 10 just to play with this a little bit, just have some fun. So set quantity. Okay, so now suddenly the component status says available, because now it says, oh, you need 20 panels? We've got 20 panels. We're good. So I can definitely continue forward with this work order, or at least the assembly of this manufacturing order. So again, so that's good. Now, so now that I have this, I'm going to say, okay, well, what does this mean? So I'm 4 minutes into this. Let's say I was so fast and so good that I just went ahead and I said complete. Now I can pause this, obviously, if I can say, well, wait a second, I need to go and get the panel. So let me stop my time because I don't want to continue consuming my time because I have to go on a break, or Joe came over and started talking to me. So I'm going to stop my time because I don't want to be dinged for time. He may take, the boss says, Joe, the boss, comes over to me and he could be talking to me about something completely unrelated. Maybe he's going to talk to me about his fantastic vacation he went on in Cancun over the weekend. He went on a cruise, and he's going to talk my ear off, and my time is running. So I'm going to pause my time and let Joe talk. The boss is going to talk to me my ear off. And after he's done talking, then I'll continue my work. So, but at least I don't have to sit there and let my time be consumed because I need to meet my quota, so to speak, something like that. Okay, boss left. Let's continue. So I continue my work. Let's continue on. So obviously the timer resumes at the point it was paused. We're good. Well, let's say I was really good. I'm so good that I said, you know what? I've got my table assembled, or at least my tabletop assembled. So I got my tabletop assembled. So I need to do 10. Well, let's just pretend like I was so speedy that I got all 10 done within the time it took me to do one, for example. We'll assume that. So when I click the complete button here, so I complete done, and you see that it now is keeping track of all this information over in the chatter section. This is the chatter as far as how Odoo calls it. So basically anything that needs to be discussed or managed or to-dos or whatever it is can be managed here. And we won't get into this because this is actually something else that can be used, but it's used across all these modules in Odoo where you can now go in and say, you could log a note, which basically says, I was able to complete the full 10 in the time it took me to do one. Something like that. So let's go ahead and say that. We can do one, so we'll log that. So I could do this. I could add a note just explaining something if I wanted to. Maybe there's an activity, so I could actually come in here and say I could do a to-do, email, call, meeting, document, request, signature. So I could add something in here that says I need to do this now as part of this process. Again, this is not specific to a manufacturing order. This is actually good for everything that's used within Odoo for the most part. Anything that you could see that is some sort of an entity or some sort of an object can have you add these specific things to do. So for example, I said to do hand off to next station. Now I would probably not do it this way. This is not the way I would do it. So, but it creates this task that you need to complete that I have actually handed it off. So when I hand it off, I do the mark done, and it says, okay, do you want to add a comment? And said done. Now, if I could do done and schedule next, I could do that, which means basically that I could say, what's the next step? So I'm not going to do any of that stuff in here because this system is not designed. Well, I should say not the system, but this is not where I would want to do this. What I want to do is just cancel this. Because what I would want to do is because this is a repeatable action, I would want to set up some configuration. So what I would do is when I want to set up my operations here and say, what is it that I'm trying to do? You can see there's several things that I can do. So I would probably set up an operation and say, okay, once I finish the assembly of the tabletop, I need to transfer that tabletop over to this new work center for the assembly with the table. So that's what I would really do. So let's go ahead and close this and let's go back to my operations, manufacturing orders. So this one is now complete. As you can see, it says the status is this state is to close. So if I open it up, I'm done. I did the I was able to complete the 10, and of course I only said I only did 2, so I really consumed only 2. But again, well, this is again we're doing this as a demo. So again, I'm done. So what I can do now is say produce. And what this will do is now close out this. So it says produce less than the initial demand. So because I didn't create the entire 10, then it's saying, wait a second, do you want to create a back order, which says basically I'm going to fulfill the rest of them later? Well, let's do that. Sure, why not? Create a back order. So create a back order. And now I have a second work order to complete the 2 that I did not finish completely. So it's got, or the panels, I should say. So I need to fulfill the other 9 because I only completed 1. So I didn't say that I did all 10. I just said I did 1. So that's right. I forgot that I was doing it that way. Okay. So, all right, let's see. I'm put this up here. And sorry, I'm just going to check here to see. Okay. And we have, okay. Okay. Just gonna pop it out. Okay. So, uh, okay. All right. So now that I create this back order of uh this, so basically want to be able and create the additional ones that I had. I originally said I wanted one, then I said I wanted 10. I only did one, so I need to get the other 9 done. So it creates this, and you can see that it's created a -002. So this suffix is because this is now the second order to fulfill this manufacturing order that we created. So if I click produce all, if I just click this, then what this does is says, okay, so you did the other 9, you got them done. And this is just a quick and dirty way of just getting it done. And now I'm happy. So everybody, I can go back to my work order and we will see that here is now 001 and the other one is 002. So if we go back here, we should be able to see that the one that was complete. And I think I need to go ahead and remove that. And you can see now we see that there is 0003, 001, and 002. We did the 1 here, we did the 9 here. They're both done. So we're good. So this is really how to manage a manufacturing order inside the system. Let's go back to our work orders then. So the work order is a little bit different because these are the things that can be done on a manufacturing order. So for example, you can see the desktop combination and the table. So we just kind of, if we wanted to do the assembly of the table, we would want to put that on another manufacturing order or on the same work order, sorry, the same manufacturing order. But we would want to say, okay, this is what we need to do to fulfill that requirement, whatever that requirement is. Now there is one other there is one other app that can be used to kind of help this because again, you're not seeing where I'm doing things, you're not seeing how I'm doing it. You're just saying I did it, and that's it. So if we go back to the apps section here, and we see that was called a shop floor. Let's open this up, and we see an actual graphical representation of the work center. You see, so we activate the work center and we're going to do assembly 1 and confirm, and we see that we have to create a drawer, and this is inside our work center that needs to be done. So this is a little bit different way of viewing things, but can get the same work done using a little different way of doing it. So we have the operator here, and we can edit our operators here. We could add more people if we need to. We won't right now, but we can see this. And what I'm going to do is say confirmed. I say close production. I can close the production if I did this 5 units. Okay, so we could add a work order here. So let's add, and we're going to do not insert. Okay, work center. No, we don't want to do that. Let's go. There it is. That's what I wanted. So I take that back. I do want this. Assembly 1 and add the work order. Oops, I need to bring in a title. So let's say build drawer. Okay, add work order. And there we go. So now we see that we have this here. So we have that work order now added. And overview. And let's say I completed this, close production, and we're done. So this is a way that you can create a, because obviously at times it can be confusing because maybe there's a work order, or sorry, there could be a manufacturing order that could be several different work orders, and it could have different operations, and we can now manage it from the operations perspective or from the work order perspective at the actual work center where this work is going to be done. Maybe it's, somebody has to it has to kit all the stuff. They get maybe there's some screws or bolts that are going to be used with the drawer, and they get all the panels together, and then they come and bring it to me and set it on my desk, and then I have to do the assembly, and then once I have the drawer ready, I have to hand it off to another guy because he's actually building the desk that the drawer is going to go into. So there's a lot of things like that. But there's again, there's a lot of management here that can be used to more or less control the different aspects of the manufacturing process. And the good thing is, as you see, each one of these can be set up. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna close this. So let's close and let's go back to manufacturing. And we can see that there's several things. This is my dashboard. I can see from my dashboard overview what exactly it is that I need to do. Obviously, we've been working with assembly one because the work orders are here. So if we open this back up again, we can see that we're starting to get things done and we can start to fill this out. But you see the table is there's another table that has to be done. So I don't know, stuff like that. So hopefully this is going to be helpful for you in kind of understanding a little more about the manufacturing aspect of Odoo. I'm not getting too deep into this, but at the same time, I've already been working on this thing for half an hour, which is actually really interesting. And so if you have any questions or comments, then obviously then you can either report back on this video or just add a comment to it, or we could you can wait for the next video and then maybe try to announce it so that we can have a little bit better understanding of when this is going to actually occur. So until the next time, thanks a lot.